Hi everyone, Tracy here from Art Fibers Stitch. Here's what we started last time. It has an antique look, and that's why I'm looking at those lovely little silk flowers, because they're very faded and follows with that theme. Now I realize it's hard to pick up at the moment because it really is very colorless. But we're going to fix that. First of all, I'm going to see what kind of size it's going to be so I know where I am concentrating on and where I'm wasting my time stitching. So that's what I'm doing here. And once I've got that in my head, I'm going to start with choosing some more colour. So we've got some colour here, and I'm just choosing a few. This one is a bit dark, but I think I might need it. There's a more peachy colour. We've got some ones that are variegated, some pearl cotton, and then the same variegated that's stranded. I don't know what I'll be using, but I grabbed these things out just in case. Apricot, peach, light pink, some white, because I'm wanting it to be very much like an old-fashioned photograph. And so I'm really trying to find things that are fitting in with that. But it is very much all the one colour. See, we've got that gold. It's all gold on one side and it's all pink, the flowers on the other. Although you may not be picking that up on the screen. I am trying. But I do need something in those gold to brighten them up. So maybe something lighter. But that's enough out for the moment to get started. And we'll see. We'll see how it builds. Where to start. I do have a tendency of jumping around all over the place to whichever bit excites me next. So, where? I'm going to start with a nice, peachy, apricot-y kind of colour, I suppose. And I'm just going to start here where the lace is. And I'm just starting by stitching some of that down and seeing what that colour looks like. It'll bring some more of that pink that's in those two flowers on the right into the design. So I'm starting with just a running stitch and I'm attaching that bit of lace. I am following a line that's already there. You can have a closer look here. There. So it's pretty subtle. But when I look at this outer edge of this lace, I can see little crosses. And I'm thinking, or little diamond shapes, I'm sort of thinking of a few crosses wouldn't go astray there. And I could do that to hold down that lace on that edge. So I'm just going to add a few of different sizes. I'm not being too particular, but it's also adding that little touch of pink. And it's a thicker thread, it's a pearl cotton, so it stands out a little bit better than just a couple of thinner stranded cottons. So I'm liking it. I think this will be a good start without doing anything too dramatic. It gets the toe in to the water, so to speak, so I start something. As I follow it around, I might stop doing crosses and just do a little bit of seed stitch, but as long as I'm attaching that down somehow and bringing in that trace of pink, I'm going to be happy. So I started at one edge of that lace. I worked all the way over to the other corner with a running stitch, and now I'm working my way back with just doing, like I said, crosses or a seed stitch. But where I'm going to is back towards that pink flower, and I'm going to do something with that next, or at least start on it. So I'm starting with just going over those white stitches that we'd just done with plain old cotton last time. And I'm just covering them with this pink so that they're just a little bit deeper, and it's starting to get more colour in. So I work my way around that flower, just going over those things that I had already done, and then out the side again, and I'll finish doing off that lace. So I just travel with that cotton until it's used. I like to start with a colour that isn't really going to be too noticeable and work my way up from there, or work my way to somewhere. But those first marks that you put down can be quite scary when you don't know what you're doing and you're making it up as you go along. So something that matches in is a good way to start, and that's what I'm doing. Now let's have a look. I do have this lovely bit of lace that fell off that I was planning on putting here, so let's just pop it back again. And it'll poke under the edge of those flowers. Those flowers are sort of 3D because remember in the last episode we made Suffolk Puffs or Yo-yos, and one of them I actually put some padding in, and it ended up quite bubbly. And the other one is also without the padding, but it definitely has that 3D element to it. Now I'm just going to pin that this time to make it stay there. These flowers that I first showed you are a little silk flower, and I'm just going to take out the naff's kind of plastic center to it, and I'm just going to look at it. See, I could do something like that. I love the way that they're so such a subtle color, like an antique, like a vintage photograph. So I'm just looking at it, and could I use them somewhere? I don't know. Yeah, I could use them on the flower. I don't know that I need a green one. But I could also put them other places, you know. I could pop them, well, over on the lace or somewhere, a spray of them coming out from somewhere else. I just think that they're pretty and I could use them. So I'm just taking the plastic center and the little clasp sort of thing that holds that center in from behind. That's a nice whitish one. I do have some peachy ones. I think they might be the go. I like to keep rearranging and trying things in different areas. That green is a little bit too much, maybe. I don't know. I mean, you could, as long as you put a touch somewhere else. But I'm just looking. I try it in different areas and I see what I might like. Could pop it over there. But really, one of my problems is that big goldy flower. Two big gold flowers blobbed down there on one side. What am I going to do? Oh, here's another bit that's fallen off. This is a doily. Beautiful, you know, cream old gold kind of doily. So I'm going to pin it there so it doesn't keep falling off, because those are the outside petals of these gold Suffolk Puffs, and that's part of the design. So let's get them back on before I forget what I was intending to do. There. Right, so they're in place. Now let me just play with it again. What do I want? I want that there. Will I try these flowers somewhere else? A different color maybe? You know, it's your eye, what you find that you like. That's what you'll do. So take the time. Colors are important. Composition is important. But what I'm going to have a look at here is to get these little flowers in, because I think they look pretty good there. You know, you still see the flower underneath the Suffolk Puff, and it still gives us enough area where we can put something in the center if we want later. But I'm going to take my thread up and I'm going to just do some stitches out and over, as you can see here, to attach it. And I'll do the same with this other one up the top. Don't they look pretty? And you know, every time I do put the needle down in that puffy one and pull it through, it's flattening it a little bit more, sculpting it a little bit more, holding those areas flatter than the bits that aren't stitched. So that's always very interesting to play with. Yes, I'm not too worried about these beautiful little flowers. I'm sure that they're going to end up really, really nice. They're getting better all the time. I'm going to end that cotton off and trim it. Give it a little pull because it's getting a little tight in places. But here is a look at how it finished up. I thought one of those little pearl kind of beads would be nice in the center. I haven't sewn that on yet, but I think it would be nice. Right, and another little bit of lace has fallen off, wouldn't you know? So here's another pin. And the lace on the upper right there, that pretty flower, I've decided that's going to be cut off anyway, so I may as well use that little bit. I've trimmed it back in line with where I think the design will finish. And now I'm just going to pop it somewhere else. And now we can get looking at these gold flowers. That's how it originally was. Everything pretty much the same color. So what I'm trying to do now is to bring some difference into it. I'm starting with this pearl cotton that goes from a lemon through to our apricot. It's just a bit lighter than what's here, and I'm hoping that it'll brighten it up. And I'm just going to do some plain straight stitches, some long stitches out from where we've ruched it all up in the center, from there out towards the edge and sometimes over and into that doily so that it'll hold that down as well. Now you may not see just yet how that's affecting it, but this is just stage one. I'm going to work my way around that whole center of that flower. I'm not going right into the center where the ruched bit is. I have plans for something else there, but from outside that and over and into the doily, that'll make me happy. And I'm hoping it'll bring in some contrast in a light color. So you're getting the idea. I don't think we need to see every single stitch, so we'll just speed this bit up a little bit. So the next thing that I'm wanting to do after we've gone around that, and there it is, you can see that lighter color. It's brought in a little bit of a peachy color as well, and it's a good start. But now I'm wanting to bring in some of this pink. It's the same pinky color that is in those other flowers. And my idea is that I want to bring some of the pink into those flowers so that they all match in a little bit better without being a big blob of gold on one side and a big blob of pink on the other. So naturally I'll do all of those gold flowers to some extent like that, because it adds a bit of cohesion to the whole design. Can you see how I'm spreading it out over the edge of the Suffolk puff and into the doily, making it all blend in together? So I'm looking at these pearls now and I'm thinking, yes, that's how I want those in those flowers. But these, they're not showing up enough. They're just all the one color mainly. What can I do? I'm just sort of thinking I could put petals in, or maybe I could use some of these silk flowers that I had. Maybe a white one would really make it stand out. It certainly does make it pop. I'm looking at this dark plum color though. I'm thinking it needs both lightening and darkening. So I'm going to use some of this dark plum, and I'm going to go around that ruched bit in the center that we have that's nice and fluffy and sort of creates a center for that flower. And I'm just going to do, I think, some chain stitch. They call it detached chain. A real chain would be when you keep going, but you can see here how I've done that, and it's really added something. Here you can see how it's done. We've done this many times before on other videos, but in case you haven't seen it, The needle comes up from underneath, so you hold the thread out to the side and you put the needle underneath and bring it up again inside that loop that's created because you've held that that thread. And then it creates this lovely little daisy petal kind of shape. And that really did help. But now I'm getting some white. I'm using the full 6 strands of a stranded cotton of white. I'm wanting to lighten parts of it as well. Darken and lighten, because it was all much the same color. I thought this would help. So I'm just doing some petal shapes out through the doily. It's a good way to hold that doily down as well as to accentuate those petal shapes and make it look like it is really all just one flower. So I did a lot of things on this video. Let's look at the close-ups here and how lovely it all looked. I'm really very pleased with it. Those threads inside that sheer fabric really did work nicely to add a bit of variation into those petals. And eventually I was happy with the gold flowers. We added the white and the dark. You can see the dark there, the chain stitch, and some white French knots in the center, and the white petal shapes out and over the doily. All these things help make it more of a flower. So I think this worked. We didn't want too much color. We wanted it to be like an old-fashioned photograph that was hand tinted, and I think we've achieved that. And I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, don't forget to press like and subscribe. And I'll see you next time for something different. Thanks again.